I feel nothing. But you feel everything, yet you keep trying. I'm not my brother. And if you'd given me what I wanted, it wouldn't have ended this way. But no.
Hey, how's it going guys? Captain Kuba here, and the day has finally arrived. I'm going to talk about Kratos' immortality. This is a topic I've dreaded to talk about given how complicated it is. And without a doubt, I'm going to get a few fans to disagree with me in the comment section below. And that's fine, I still enjoy reading those comments. Now, some of you might think this question has an easy answer, since Cory Barlog has confirmed that Kratos is in fact immortal.
Is Kratos still a god?
Yes.
Immortal?
Yes.
So is that it? Don't forget to like and share? No, of course not. Even though we know Kratos is immortal, we still don't know in what sense. But don't worry, because I have a theory, as always. Now before I tell you my theory, I have to go through 4 favorite fan theories about this topic, and explain why I don't believe they prove Kratos is immortal. The first one can be found in the God of War 2018 novelization. During the flashback to the ending of God of War 3, the novel says the following: Kratos came to realize the gods would never allow him death by his own hand. This might seem like a definitive answer, but when you read it for a second time, you will notice that it doesn't say the gods would never allow him to die. Instead it says the gods would never allow him to commit suicide, something he's been trying to do since the very beginning of the series. Now there is a loophole way to make this sentence mean Kratos is immortal, but it only works if you believe Kratos is the most powerful being in the universe. Let me explain. If Kratos is more powerful than, let's say, Thor, then that means Thor won't be able to kill Kratos. So far so good, right? Now let's just say that Kratos lets Thor kill him because, I don't know, Atreus died and he has no reason to keep living. So Thor takes his hammer and bashes Kratos' skull in. Is he really dead then? No, because once again, Kratos made an attempt at committing suicide. Even though he didn't jump from a cliff or stabbed himself with the blade of Olympus, he still allowed himself to be killed by Thor, and this would count as a suicide. And because the gods wouldn't allow him to commit suicide, he would come back to life again, the same way he did in God of War 3. Thor could kill him as many times as he likes, until Kratos gets tired of coming back to life, so he kills him instead. Again, this curse would only make him immortal as long as Kratos is the most powerful being in the universe, but that has not been confirmed yet. In fact, Mimir knows Kratos destroyed an entire pantheon and still questions whether he can defeat Thor. Food for thought. Another piece of quote-unquote evidence fans offer to explain Kratos' immortality is the curse of Persephone. This explanation came to us even before God of War 2018 was released. You might not remember, but Santa Monica Studios invited a super God of War fan named Emmanuel Mojica to the studio. In this trip, he was actually shown footage of the unreleased game. Lucky bastard. And he was also told many lore details unknown to the God of War community. One of them included the immortality curse Persephone placed on Kratos during God of War Chains of Olympus. Now many of you might be asking yourselves, when did she place a curse on Kratos? And that is a fair question, so let me show you exactly when she placed this curse on Kratos.
Your suffering will never end, Ghost of Sparta.
Yeah, so I don't know about you, but this never sounded like a curse to me. Given the context of the scene, Persephone is simply telling Kratos that by letting the gods live, Kratos' suffering would never end, given how cruel the gods are to mortals. Something Kratos would learn at the end of God of War 1.
We promised your sins would be forgiven, and so they are. But we never promised to take away your nightmares. No man, no god could ever forget the terrible deeds you have done.
So why did Emmanuel Mojica say this was a curse? I really don't think he was lying to the God of War community about someone from Santa Monica Studios telling him this detail. Most likely this was a retcon Santa Monica was planning at that time but never made it into the official lore of the series, because it would have been a really bad retcon. I even asked Bruno Velasquez, the animation director at Santa Monica Studios, and he was just as confused as I was the first time I heard it. This either means some team members are not kept up to date when it comes to new additions to the lore of the series, or Santa Monica simply got rid of this idea really early on. It's possible this is still lore, but I think we can all agree it hasn't been officially confirmed yet. Again, I don't want you to think I have something against Emmanuel Mojica. In fact, I think he's a pretty stand-up guy with a really cool YouTube channel that you should check by clicking on the link below. Now I have to address a moment a lot of you guys have been asking me about since the release of the game in 2018.
But you feel everything, yet you keep trying.
Many fans have taken this moment to confirm Kratos is immortal, but I never really understood why. To me this seems like a classic regeneration ability many superheroes have. The game never tells us exactly when Kratos obtained this ability, but I have a suspicion that it was one of the perks of becoming the God of War. I've come to this conclusion because aside from this moment in God of War 2018, Kratos has only used it twice before. The first instance occurred after Deimos beat him to a pulp. Kratos was limping and spitting blood, but in a matter of seconds got up and started running again. The next instance happened in God of War 3. When Kratos fell in the river Styx, the Souls End attacked him. Once again he was injured for a few minutes, but in a matter of seconds he was back to normal. These two instances happened after he became the God of War. Even in God of War 2018, Kratos suffered a fatal injury at the hands of Baldur. Now in God of War 1 he suffered a very similar injury, being stabbed in the stomach by a pillar thrown by Ares. Sure, Baldur stabbed him with a much smaller object, but the damage to his internal organs was about the same. In the first game, this injury sent him to the underworld, while the one in God of War 2018 only held him back for a little bit before he was up and running again. The only thing in between these two events that might give us an explanation is Kratos becoming the God of War and obtaining a few new powers like enhanced regeneration. The last theory I need to address is one that fans have been tagging me on a lot on Twitter. It comes from the novelization of the first game in the series. During one of the many conversations Athena has with Zeus, she says the following: "The god that was supposed to be Kratos' victim was you, father. Ares was grooming Kratos for the same task I am, and for the same reason. To slay a god, but to avoid Gaia's immortal curse on any who shed their family's blood." So according to the theory, from ages back, Gaia placed an immortality curse on anyone who kills a family member. Kratos killed his first family, therefore Gaia cursed him with immortality. While at first this is what seems to be saying, if you look at it closer, it's only saying that the curse itself is immortal, not the person receiving it. Also, why would Athena be scared of an immortality curse? She's a goddess of Olympus. She's already immortal in the sense that she can't die of old age or from injuries that would kill a mortal. Also, Kratos is not the only character that has killed a family member. His grandfather Kronos killed his father Uranus. Shouldn't Kronos be immortal by the same logic then? If the theory is correct, he should be, but we know he wasn't because we killed him in God of War 3. But even if this is what the novel was trying to say, I wouldn't really put much hope in it. Stig Asmussen, the director of God of War 3, confirmed a while back that the first two God of War novels are secondary canon, meaning that if they contradict the games in any details, the games become the final word on which source is right. And I know that saying Gaia cursed Kratos with immortality is not really a contradiction with the games, but the games also never say that Gaia made him immortal, and since the novel doesn't specify what this curse is, most likely it was added by the writer to give the conversation between Athena and Zeus some flavor. Now that I addressed the four most popular theories about this topic, it's time to talk about mine. I know it's gonna sound crazy at first, but make sure to pay attention. I believe someone or something outside of all the pantheons is keeping Kratos alive by controlling destiny itself. Think about it. The reason so many fans disagree how Kratos' immortality work is because there's so many answers in the series. If you go back to God of War 1, the reason Kratos came back to life is because Zeus had finished digging his grave just in time for him to get out of the underworld. What a coincidence. Also, in the ending of God of War 1, Kratos knows he'll never be able to get rid of the visions that plague him, so he decides to commit suicide. But it just so happens that there aren't any rocks where he lands, and on top of that, Athena magically brings him back and makes him the God of War. Another coincidence? Now in God of War 2, Zeus kills Kratos with the Blade of Olympus, but it just so happened that after thousands of years of being in the underworld, Gaia thought it was time to choose her hero to bring back the Titans to life. So she healed his wound and Kratos came back to life. Okay, I'm starting to think this is no coincidence. Lastly, let's look at God of War 3. After Kratos stabbed himself with the Blade of Olympus and was bleeding to death, some unknown gods put a curse on him to never die by his own hand. You see what I mean? Kratos' immortality is not found within the cells of his body. Every time he has come back to life is because someone has intervened. This is why he is cursed. No matter what he does, something or someone is going to bring him back to life, denying him the rest that he's been wanting since the very beginning of the series. So who is doing this to Kratos? Even though this sounds like the work of the Sisters of Fate, it can't be them because Kratos defeated them and got rid of predestination in the Greek pantheon altogether. That's why I believe it has to be someone or something that has the power over all the pantheons. I came to this conclusion after reading the first issue of Fallen God. When Kratos meets the old man, he reveals to the ghost of Sparta that it wasn't an accident he found his way to the Egyptian pantheon, making me think this old man is aware of a higher power that controls the destiny of all the pantheons. Perhaps this deity has greater plans for Kratos and is simply not letting him die just yet, making him technically immortal. But at the end of the day, this is just a theory. I'm sure Cory Barlog has something much better in mind. But for now, when it comes to Kratos' immortality, all we can say is that he is immortal, but we don't know in what sense. So let me know in the comment section below your theory. I really want to know what you think about this topic. I know this was a long video, but I knew that if I didn't address all the fan theories, I was going to be crucified in the comment section. As always, I want to thank all of my members for their monthly support of the channel. People like Celtion, Dodge Wapow, and Sean Glyden, to name a few, are the main reason I'm still able to upload these videos. So if you like the content, consider hitting that join button. I would also like to thank all of my subscribers for liking and sharing my videos. It doesn't seem like much, but it really does help the channel a lot. So with that said, thanks for watching, and remember, go forth in the name of Ragnarok.